Bacteria in yogurt: the good, the bad, and the ugly. A lot of people come to the assumption that all bacteria are harmful, given the fact that we learn about so many disease-causing pathogens that invade our bodies. While that may be true in some cases, it isn't in others. Bacteria such as microflora, or microorganisms that live in the digestive tracts, can be very useful for processes like digestions in the body. In fact, we contain more bacteria in our bodies than cells. Bacteria also play a vital role in the creation of yogurt, and their existence in yogurt poses many benefits to the gut health of our bodies, most notably caused by probiotic yogurts treated with additional bacteria strains or genetic variants or subtypes of bacterium. These extra treated probiotic yogurts are believed to help lactose digestion with those living with lactose intolerance and reduce the symptoms of inflammatory bowel disease by stimulating the gastrointestinal tract. Probiotics are a controversial topic among scientists. Some believe that probiotics are important because they have a beneficial impact on human health in clinical trials. However, other experts argue that the gastrointestinal tract already has trillions of microflora bacteria aiding in the digestion, and that the addition of a few million bacteria into the digestional tract will not make a lasting impact on digestion or long-term health. If probiotics make a difference in the digestive cycle, then how do bacteria populations change between yogurts marketed as probiotics and those that aren't? In an average cup of commercial yogurt, there's a total of 4 to 6 strains of bacteria. Yogurt is made by fermenting milk with the aid of bacteria Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. The first step in yogurt fermentation is heating a milk solution in a large container. Sometimes bacteria are added during this first step of heating to ensure that they will be killed off after they have fermented the yogurt. Other times, bacteria are added after the heating process to keep the bacteria alive. When the strains of bacteria are added, the 2-lactic acid bacteria consume the lactose sugars from the milk and turn them into lactic acids and polysaccharides in the process of fermentation. The presence of lactic acid lowers the yogurt pH and causes proteins to denature. The final result is a substrate that has enough acidity from lactic acids to prevent the growth of other organisms, as well as polysaccharides to create a creamy texture. Probiotic yogurt is a subset of yogurt characterized by the presence of live bacteria colonies that contain health benefits to the digestive system. Not all yogurt is probiotic. Yogurt brands that add bacteria during the culturing process produce yogurt with killed-off bacteria, and thus are not considered to be probiotic. However, adding bacteria after the culturing process to produce live bacteria is a more popular method for yogurt production today. So the differences between probiotic yogurt and other types of normal yogurt found in stores are slim. In order to have a printed probiotic label, the substance must meet the requirement of 100 million live cultures per gram. In addition, some yogurt companies have specialized probiotic bacteria that they add to their mixture, while other brands simply rely on Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus, which are only starter bacteria used in virtually all yogurt cultures. However, many sources cite them as having health benefits, which allows companies to claim that even the yogurt with basic bacteria for fermentation is probiotic. The manufacturers for probiotics are able to be flexible with their naming of probiotic products like this because the companies use clinical trials for food instead of for medicine in order to avoid safety concerns and move the product onto shelves. This way, they can bypass work associated with an investigation new drug application and avoid the possible regulations placed on the degree of bacteria needed for yogurt to be considered probiotic. To get a more hands-on look at this problem, I wanted to look at what yogurt bacteria look like under a microscope. For the lab, I put a small scoop of yogurt on the slide and mixed it with water. Then I added a drop of blue methane so that the bacteria would become stained with blue coloration and become visible under the microscope. Lastly, I added a cover slip and removed any excess solution coming from the slides. To capture the footage of the bacteria from the microscope, I used a microscope camera that can be inserted into one of the eyepieces to view the slide, and then recorded it with Amscope software. I started the lab with Chobani yogurt, which claimed in their label to contain billions of live cultures. However, the strains used were not specified. I was a little skeptic, because this meant that either the company was unsure or unwilling to produce this information for some reason or another. However, if their label was accurate in its claims, then it meant that the Chobani yogurt met the requirements to be considered as a probiotic yogurt. I concluded that if I was able to observe live cultures of Streptococcus thermophilus, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, then the yogurt was in fact probiotic. Because probiotic yogurt would contain live cultures of these two strains. At first, I could only observe small circular objects, which I couldn't be sure if they were yogurt particles or in fact bacteria. Bacteria are particularly difficult to identify for this reason. They are so small it's hard to distinguish them from the other particles in the slide. Under the microscope, Streptococcus thermophilus has prokaryotic bacteria cells, which are identified by the formation of long chains of circular bacteria. These chains can also be observed to break and reform. By comparing my footage to other scientific footage at 1000x magnification, I realized that I had captured images of Streptococcus thermophilus bacteria. There was also a possibility that other particles in the slide were in fact bacteria as well, but I could not identify them properly. These results concluded that there are live bacteria cultures present in Chobani yogurt, and that the yogurt can be classified as probiotic. However, I also had some problems with closely viewing the bacteria at 1000x magnification. I improved upon this in the second lab by using a new technique, placing immersion oil in the slides of the microscope to get a closer image of the bacteria. This involved preparing the slide with methane blue staining as previously used, then placing a drop of immersion oil on the slide while no lenses were clicked into place. Lastly, I clicked the 1000x magnification lens into place on top of the immersion oil, so the lens was inside the immersion oil. By adding the immersion oil to the lens, the resolving power of the microscope increased. For this version of the lab, I used Trader Joe's brand yogurt, which did not directly market itself as probiotic, except for the small print on the back label ingredients, which were cited as having live and active cultures. I used Trader Joe's yogurt to see if a different brand of yogurt would produce different bacteria under the microscope. Unlike the previous lab, this yogurt brand did not directly commercial itself as probiotic. Viewing the bacteria under the microscope for this yogurt proved to be difficult. Unfortunately, using the immersion oil meant that the slide could not be moved around to find a better view of bacteria without disturbing the contact between the oil and the microscope lens. This meant that there were many yogurt particles that were blocking the direct view into the bacteria in my footage. To the naked eye, it didn't seem like there was any movement or indication of bacteria on the slide. At first, I was confused why this lab wasn't producing any results when the other one had been so successful in capturing bacteria. I expected that using the immersion oil would provide an astounding close-up of the bacteria. Since prokaryotes are 10 times smaller than eukaryotes, it made it hard to observe the bacteria closely like I was expecting. Because of their size, this made it difficult. However, when I was reviewing the results of the lab, speeding up the footage showed various spots on the slide where there was movement. One particle in particular shared a very similar structure to Lactobacillus bulgaricus, which can be identified by the double elongated spherical structure, leading to the conclusion that the Trader Joe's yogurt was also probiotic because of the existence of one of the main strains of probiotic bacteria. Although there are some complications with calling these basic types of yogurt probiotic. The authors for the American Society for Microbiology journals explain that the problem with probiotic classification right now is that, quote, the application of the term probiotic to the starter bacteria, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, and Streptococcus thermophilus are still strongly debated, end quote. The criteria for yogurt to be called probiotic right now is very minimal. The authors clarified that the word probiotic should be only used for products with specialized strains of bacteria unique to probiotic yogurt. However, the same report also went into depth to the physical benefits that even starter bacteria can have. In a clinical study with 20 volunteers, commercial yogurt containing Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus were fed to the volunteers for a week. The result found that traces of the bacteria were found in their feces, which showed that the bacteria had successfully passed through the gastrointestinal tract. The presence of bacteria surviving through the gastrointestinal tract is, quote, considered a key feature for probiotics to preserve their expected health promoting effects, end quote. In this regard, all yogurt products containing large populations of living bacteria, even starting bacteria like Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus, can be considered probiotic. Returning back to the original question, how do bacteria populations change between yogurts marketed as probiotics and those that aren't? From a logistical point of view, probiotic yogurt is characterized by living colonies of bacteria that number above 100 million bacteria per gram and have a beneficial impact on health. This broad definition allows almost all commercial yogurt companies to be considered probiotic, since they only use the two main strains of bacteria which they claim to be probiotic. In this case, only yogurt that kills bacteria during the heating process of culturation, or yogurt with fewer than 100 million bacteria per gram, could not be counted as probiotic. However, yogurt with only starter bacteria will not have as many health benefits as brands with specialized probiotic strains of bacteria. So people suffering from gut disorders like irritable bowel syndrome and colon diseases would have more trouble accessing effective probiotic cures. Vice versa, while probiotics are useful for maintaining a normal digestive cycle for people living with gut disorders, they seem to be unhelpful for providing wellness to healthy people. Mary Sanders, with a PhD in dairy and food culture technologies, proposed a solution to this problem that, quote, perhaps we should use the term live and active to describe traditional yogurt with only the starter bacteria, and reserve the term probiotic to describe yogurt with added probiotic bacteria, end quote. At the moment, the term probiotic seems to be abused by yogurt companies to sell more of their products, and determining the fine line between live and active yogurt and true probiotic yogurt in the market is becoming more and more impossible.